Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's Terrence here with fishnetproductions.com, coming to you guys with the fourth video in the series that I'm doing on mixing, where I'm taking a mix from beginning to end. Now, if you're just joining us in this video, please go back and check out the first three videos, and that'll get you up to speed on where we are in this video today. But in today's video, we're going to be dealing with mixing vocals. So let's jump right into it. Okay, now let's take a look at what we have as far as vocals. Now we have somewhat of a peculiar situation here because we have 5 tracks of vocals here, of lead vocals, and all of these tracks are actually the same thing. This actually looks like multiple takes of the same vocal, but I believe the way that they are layered, that they are meant to play together. So I'm actually going to leave them all in the mix. You see only the 3 here are going at the same time, and then all 5 here are going, they start coming in, the other 2 come in here, and same thing, it's kind of in and out all the way throughout the track. But I think like in these choruses here, you see this is where these vocals come in, same thing in the next chorus. So I think it's meant to just thicken up that chorus a little bit. So I'm actually going to leave all of these in because I think that that's what they're meant to do. You have some differences in tonality in these vocal tracks, and I'll just let you hear just a little bit of that. So this is the original lead vocal by itself.
Dans le ciel, regarde ta chemin.
This is the second one.
Dans le ciel, regarde ta chemin.
And this is the third one.
Dans le ciel.
So you can hear just a little bit of tonality difference. I'm not sure if they changed mics when they did these takes, or the singer just changed positions on the mic or whatever. But be that as it may, I do believe that all of these tracks are meant to be in the mix at the same time, so I'm going to leave them in there. Now what I'm going to do is, usually I would take something like this and treat it as one track, just like in the last video I did with some of the percussion instruments, because this vocal is primarily doing the same thing. So I would just generally treat it as if it was all one mono track here. But in this case, I'm going to reserve the right to kind of change this in the end, because I'm not fully decided yet if I'm going to have all of these going all at the same time. So I may want some tonality differences. We're going to EQ them the same way in this mix, but once we get everything else going in the song, I want to be able to change this vocal, because this is really the meat and potatoes of the song. Like I said, the most interesting thing to me in this song is the percussion instruments and the drums and these vocals. So this is what we're going to deal with today. All right, so let's get to EQing these vocals. Okay, so if you have been following since the first video, I know you guys remember me saying that I was going to mix this entire track with the SSL channel strip. However, I've made a slight change here. I'm actually going to mix these vocals with this new custom series EQ by Slate Digital. The reason is, I generally recommend sticking with the same EQ if you can. It just makes things easier. That's not a hard and fast rule. It's just something I like to do because it makes things a whole lot easier, and you don't have to worry about switching between EQs. However, in situations where you know specifically what a particular plugin or EQ or compressor is going to do and give you out of your mix, and you want to get that particular thing, then go ahead and switch it. Same thing with a reverb. If you know your particular reverb or something like that is going to give you something specific, and that specific thing is what you want out of your mix, then go ahead and switch it. Now with this EQ, it just has some really, really good tonalities that I haven't heard in other EQ plugins that I really, really like, and I appreciate Slate Digital for making this particular plugin. So it's really good, and that's why I'm switching. So I'm going to use this on all 4 of these vocal tracks, and we're going to start with EQing this vocal. Now what we're aiming for is this vocal to just have a little bit more punch to it, have a little bit more air, for it to be able to stick out in the mix. Now if you remember, I'm going to play my reference mix. Mostly we were trying to get this track to sound like the Meghan Trainor song, but the reason again I had 3 different reference tracks in here is because I could reference different things from each track, and I really, really like the lead vocal that's going on in the Beyonce and Nicki Minaj track. So let's take a listen to that. It's a very clean, kind of dry and upfront vocal. So let's take a listen to that and see what that sounds like.
I'm feeling myself. I'm feeling myself. I'm feeling my. I'm with some hood girls looking back at it, and a good girl in my tax bracket. Got a black card and let sex have it. These Chanel bags is a bad habit. I do balls, down Mavericks. My mate.
All right, so you see how Nicki Minaj's and Beyonce's vocals have this sort of upfront quality to them? Well, that's what we're going to shoot for with this EQ. So let's go ahead and jump in and start EQing this vocal. Let me put that back on mute. And what I have here is our vocal track. It's looped during one of the sections. And what we're going to do first is just kind of take a listen to see what's going on. I think that's always the most important step, to kind of listen to determine what's needed and what you may need to do in the song. So let's listen to it just a little bit and then we'll jump in and start EQing. Here we go.
Barbichette, elle est charmante. Elle aime le cinéma, séduisante. Elle pique, elle mord, elle fait encore mouche qui colle dans tes cheveux. Rayon quand elle te voit sûrement.
Okay, so one of the things that I'm noticing off top is that the language of this song, and I'm still not sure about the language this is, guys. So if you know this language, please drop a comment under this video and let me know what language it is. But anyway, this language has a lot of sort of percussiveness to it. It has a lot of those kind of C and K kind of sounds that are really, really kind of hard. And I want to, keep those in there because it seems to be part of the language and I don't want to erase that. So I want to be careful about doing that while I'm EQing this vocal. So it's definitely a little bit dull. I want to give it some more air and a little bit more presence up in those upper mid ranges and high ranges. So let's go ahead and dive in with that first. Well, actually the first thing we'll do is just go ahead and high pass filter this up to sound like maybe around 150. That shouldn't do any damage to it. Let's take a listen to that.
Barbichette, elle est charmante. Elle aime le cinéma, séduisante. Elle pique, elle mord, elle fait encore.
Yeah, we're good around 150 with the high pass filter. So now let's dive in. I'm going to start playing it and then I'll make some adjustments here in this high end and some of the upper mid. So let's do that. Here we go.
Barbichette, elle est charmante. Elle aime le cinéma, séduisante. Elle pique, elle mord, elle fait encore mouche qui colle dans tes cheveux. Rayon quand elle te voit sûrement. Un jour tu verras la mouche qui saute sur ta pommette. Sa silhouette d'argent virevolte le vent. Mon doigt tu vois rien, tu es bête, de bête, tu ignores ta mouchette. Elle se tient, tu la tiens par ta barbichette. Elle est charmante, elle aime le cinéma, séduisante. Elle pique, elle mord, elle fait encore mouche qui colle dans tes cheveux. Rayon quand elle te voit sûrement. Un jour tu verras la mouche qui saute sur ta pommette.
Okay, so you see how our vocal gave us a little bit more presence, a little bit more upfrontness. When I EQ this 4K range here, that's the general range that you EQ a vocal in. Just a little bit, about 3.5 dB, gave us a little bit more upfrontness in that vocal. And then this 10K gave us a little bit more presence here. And then the reason I boosted this 200 is to just keep the vocal from being thin. Usually when you boost these areas up here, it starts to drown out that low end a little bit. So I always like to bring a little bit of it in there so it doesn't get too thin sounding. So let's A and B that and see what that sounds like. I'll start with it off and then I'll turn it on. Here we go.
Barbichette, elle est charmante. Elle aime le cinéma, séduisante. Elle pique, elle mord, elle fait encore mouche qui colle dans tes cheveux. Rayon quand elle te voit sûrement. Un jour tu verras la mouche qui saute sur ta pommette.
Really, really nice. Okay, so now what we're going to do is add a little bit of compression. So I'm going to grab this FG401 compressor by Slate Digital. I'm just sticking with these compressors since they're already in this mix rack, so just kind of makes sense to grab them really easy. I don't have to go through my plug-in list and figure out any other compressor to use or anything like that. So what I'm going to do here is simply start with a preset. Let's go down, let's see what he has for vocals on here. Let's start with this lead vocal 1, see what that sounds like. And what we're aiming for here is really just a little bit more evenness in tone and volume, so those low notes don't get drowned out in the mix. So, and then we'll listen to this in context in a bit, but let's see what this preset is doing to the vocal. Okay, here we go.
Barbichette, elle est charmante. Elle aime le cinéma, séduisante. Elle pique, elle mord, elle fait encore mouche qui colle dans tes cheveux. Rayon quand elle te voit sûrement. Un jour tu verras la mouche.
Okay, let's lower the threshold a bit so we get a little bit more compression going. Let's see what's happening. Let me play it while we do it.
Barbichette, elle est charmante. Elle aime le cinéma, séduisante. Elle pique, elle mord, elle fait encore mouche qui colle dans tes cheveux. Rayon quand elle te voit sûrement. Un jour tu verras la mouche qui saute sur ta pommette. Sa silhouette d'argent virvole le vent. Mon doigt tu vois rien, tu es bête.
Okay, great. Yeah, it really brought that vocal out a little bit more up front, and I know some of that is volume, so let me turn this makeup down just a little bit. But it did bring those sort of percussive sounds that I was talking about. It brought those out a little bit more, which is again what we seem like we want in this particular vocal because of the language tonality. So let's A and B this. Let me turn this off and on. Let's start with it off and see where we are. Here we go.
Barbichette, elle est charmante. Elle aime le cinéma, séduisante. Elle pique, elle mord, elle fait encore mouche qui colle dans tes cheveux. Rayon quand elle te voit sûrement. Un jour tu verras la mouche qui saute sur ta pommette. Sa silhouette d'argent virvole le vent.
Okay, not sounding too bad. I'm gonna try to boost a little bit more of this low end because I don't want, it's starting to sound just a little thin to me. Maybe let's take down a little bit of the high end instead. Let's do that, and then just boost a little bit more of the low end, maybe around 4 dB. Let's see what that sounds like again.
Barbichette, elle est charmante. Elle aime le cinéma, séduisante. Elle pique, elle mord, elle fait encore mouche qui colle dans tes cheveux. Rayon quand elle te voit.
Yeah, that's a lot better. Okay, let's listen to what this sounds like in context of the mix. Now, this is just one of the vocals. What I'm going to do when I'm finished with this, I'm just going to copy this to the rest of those other 4 vocal tracks because we're going to have all of those playing at the same time. And then again, once we get to the end of the mix and I see something that needs to be changed, I'll go back and change it. But right now, they're all going to be the same thing. So let's listen to this one vocal in the context of the entire mix. Let me unsolo that, and I'm going to mute the other 4. And we'll see what we have from there. All right, here we go. Okay, and just as I figured, once we added that compression, we would get a lot of those S's sticking out. So I have a deesser here already on the track. I'm going to dial that in. Usually I start with sort of a preset on this deesser too, and this is simply just the Waves Renaissance deesser. Nothing too fancy or anything like that. It's just a simple deesser. I'll start with let's go with the female DS wide. Let's start with that one and see what we have. Gonna dial that threshold down a little bit. Yeah, that got rid of those harsh S's that that compression brought out. So let me go ahead and copy these presets to the other 4 vocals. Let me close those, and I have them already here, so let me just delete, and I'm gonna copy these settings to these other 4 vocals here, and then we'll go from there and see what we have. Okay, great. It gave us a lot more presence from those vocals in the mix, and that's exactly what we were going for, guys. And really, mixing vocals is that simple. You don't have to overthink it. You don't have to go in and try to fix something that you think is broke. Simply just listen to the vocal, find out what's going on, find out what you like about it, what you may dislike about it, go in and enhance or fix those particular issues. Make sure you can hear the vocal over the mix. Make sure it's not being drowned out by any other instrument or any other vocal or anything in the mix that you may want to keep away from that. And it's really as simple as that. And that's EQing vocals. All right, guys, so that's it for this video. We're going to continue mixing this song in the next video. We only have a few instruments left, the guitars and clav, and I think 1 or 2 more instruments that are in there. So we're going to dive in, make sure we get those solid. Then we're going to start adding some reverb and stuff like that to the mix. So be sure to stay with this series and join me in the next video. And listen, as usual, if you guys have not subscribed to the channel, make sure you go do that now. The videos are going to be coming out really soon. There's already a lot of great content on the channel if you're looking for tips, for mixing tips and stuff like that. So make sure you subscribe, hit that subscribe button in the lower right hand corner right there, and I'll see you guys in the next video.